Okay, class, today we're going to talk about combining like terms and the distributive property. So let's first talk about combining like terms. Combining like terms means put together things that are alike. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple questions that I have prepared for you here. So this first one says 5m plus m. Well, we know that this m right here, it does have a 1 in front of it. So this is 5m plus 1m, which is equivalent to 6m. Basically what we're looking at today is how do I simplify expressions that are like this when I have things that are alike within it. Okay? So the overall instruction I'm going to give you today is about how do I simplify each of these expressions. Okay, so the next one, we've got 6a plus 3b plus 7 plus 4a plus 2b plus 8. So we want to put things that are alike together. So that means this 6a and this 4a, they can go together to make 10a. Okay, same thing with this 3b and this 2b. They could go together to make 5b. But this 10a and this 5b, I can't put those together because they have different letters. Okay, so the 10a and the 5b cannot go together. And then we've got the 7 and the 8. We put that together and we get a 15. For the same reason, this 15 is different from the 10a and the 5b because the 15 doesn't even have a letter. So I can't combine any of those together. So this expression right here, if I wanted to simplify it, it's going to look like this right here to be simplified. So let's see if we can do a few more real quick. All right. Now each of these I added some different things. In the first one, you'll notice I added minuses and negatives. Okay, so now one of the things that I always did, and the things that I taught you, is change subtraction to addition next to its opposite so that I can then rearrange things if I want to. Okay, so I'm going to change this one, and this one right here is just a negative, so I just leave it alone. Now I just put things together. Well, again, this 5t, and I'm going to add this negative t to it. Well, that's a negative 1t. So we know that if I have a positive 5t and a negative 1t, signs are different, so we subtract those. So 5 and 1 make 4, okay, when I subtract that out. So these two right here go together to make 4t, and now I still have to add the negative 3t to that. So if our signs are different, we subtract. 4t, take away 3t gives us just plain old t or 1t. Okay, so that would be that particular expression simplified. In the second one, you'll notice I put two letters together so that AB is the container in this particular instance. So even if I had, added to that, a 6A plus a 5B, I can't add those to the ABs because this only has an A and this only has a B. It doesn't have an AB. And so you can only add things that are alike together. So in this particular one, I've got a 6AB and an 8AB, which gives us 14AB. And then I need to subtract away 5AB or add its opposite. And either way you look at it, you end up with 9AB. Okay, now in the last one, again, we've got some subtraction here. So I'm going to change subtraction to addition next to its opposite. Subtraction to addition next to its opposite. Now I can rearrange. That's what that gives me the ability to be able to do. So I can now take the 12y and the negative 4y, put those together to get 8y. And then the negative 4 and the 6 goes together to make a 2. So that's combining like terms. Now that leads us into what the real lesson today is about, the distributive property. Okay? So the distributive property states that I can add first, then multiply, or I can multiply first, then add. It's strictly up to you. Okay? It depends on what the numbers look like. So here's what it says. It says, I can take these two numbers right here because they're in parentheses. I can add those first and then multiply it by the A. Okay? Or I could take this A right here because it tells me I have this many of whatever it is of these and these. So I can say I've got this many of these, put that together through multiplication, and I have this many of these, and I can put that together with multiplication. Okay? As long as A, B, and C are real numbers, I can do that. So let's see if we can do a couple of examples, and that will make a little bit more sense. So here's our first one. Okay, it says 4 parenthesis x plus 6. Well, what this really means is I've got 4 of these x plus 6's. So if I had x plus 6 and x plus 6 and x plus 6 and x plus 6, I had 4 of those. I can now, like we did in the earlier problems, combine like terms. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 x's. and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 6s, which gives me 24. Okay, so that's one way of looking at this. Okay, and that's basically what it says. Now the fast way of looking at it is, here I've got a 4 out here. It says I've got 4 of these x's. So I'm going to put the 4 and the x together with multiplication. And we end up with 4x plus, and now I put the 4 together with the 6, and I end up with 24. Right? And that's the fast way, to just multiply each piece by that 4. Because the distributive property really means to distribute, to pass out. So I'm passing this A out to the B, and I'm passing this A out to the C. So I'm passing out to whatever's on the inside of those parentheses. Okay, so now let's look at the next one. And again, we've got a minus here, so I'm going to change that. And now I'm going to pass this 3 out to the 2m to get 6m. I'm going to pass this 3 out to the negative 8m, and I'm going to end up with a negative 24n. Now another way of looking at that one is still 6m minus 24n. Those two are the same thing. So this just means, this 3 on the outside just means I've got 3 of each one of those items that are inside the parentheses. So let's see if we can do a couple more, and then we'll be done. Now these are a little bit tougher, a little bit more complicated, a little bit more, to each of these, because now we've got to not only do the distributive property, but also the combining like terms. So in this first one, okay, this 3 says I've got 3 of these x's. So I've got 3x plus, I've got 3 of the 4 y's, which is 12y, and then you've just got this 5x kind of hanging out. Okay, because it's not part of the parentheses, so it's not part of the distributive property, it's just hanging out. So now once I have everything, I have the parentheses simplified, and I got rid of the parentheses, I now can combine like terms. And you'll notice I've got a 3x and a 5x, which actually goes together to make 8x plus 12y. And that would be that particular expression simplified. Okay, now in the second one, I've got a couple things hanging out. I have a 4 and a 3y hanging out. So what I do is I just write the 4 down, and then I simplify this parenthesis expression right here. So I'm going to pass the 2 out to the 2x and get 4x. We'll pass the 2 out to the 3 and get 6. Pass the 2 out to the 5y and get 10y. And then I write down what's left, the 3y. So now I put together anything that I can. Well, you'll notice I've got some y's to give me a 13y. I've got a 4 and a 6 to put together to give me a 10. And then I've just got a 4 that comes along for the ride. Right? Now the last one, what we have is we've got several things going on. You'll notice that we also have a new type of parenthesis called a bracket. Okay, well, just like when we did order of operations, when we had parentheses inside parentheses, that's where we start. And we start the same way here. So this 3 just comes along for the ride, so I write the 3 and bracket, and now I evaluate this parenthesis expression. So I've got 2h plus 4. Now I come and do this set. So 3 times 4 gives me 12. I'm going to change that there. So now I'm going to do plus, and then 3 times negative h gives me negative 3h. Right? So now I simplify that line. Okay, so my 2h and my negative 3h can go together to give me a negative h. So I've got 3 bracket negative h plus, and then the 4 and the 12 can go together to make 16. And now I've got one more set of parentheses to simplify. So the 3 and the negative h go together to make a negative 3h plus, and then the 3 and the 16 go together to make a 48. And that's how we use the distributive property with combining like terms.